Viewers, thank you for staying tuned on Race TV. I'm Jackie Lingla, your host for the Financial Eye, where we shine a spotlight on key economic aspects that drive Uganda's economy forward. And now, if we look at the economic growth rate, it was projected in this current financial year, 2025-2026, at 7%. Up from 6.3% in the previous financial year. Now, this was propelled by key sectors such as agriculture, tourism, and services. Services and industry. When we talk about services, it's of course tourism mostly, and the hotel industry, and so on. Now, also, of course, when we look at the economic indicators that fueled this economic projection for this financial year, we have quite a number. But of course, we'll look at also the stable inflation rate that was cited in the previous financial year. Due to stable food prices. And so tonight we have a very, very key topic of discussion. Of course, we are expounding more on the national budget that was approved in this current financial year, that is the 72 trillion Ugandan shilling national budget. And we want to see how it's going to, affect the economic outlook of Uganda and also the financial market performance as a whole. So tonight with me on set, I have an economist, Dr. Fred Muhumuza, who is well conversant with the fiscal policy, the economic growth, globally, not only in Uganda. You're very welcome, sir.
Thank you very much, Jackie. Happy to be here for the first time.
We're very excited to have you on Race TV Waves.
Yeah, I'm happy, and thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, you could just give a brief introduction to the viewers who are watching us tonight.
Yeah, since it's my first time here, some people may be seeing me for the first time. My name is Fred Muhumuza. I am based at Makerere University Business School, where I work as a senior lecturer, but also as a director of the Economics Forum, which is literally in these spaces for making sure the economics is integrated in people's lives, but also to be able to pick the economics in people's lives and bring it back into the economic thinking spaces so that policies can speak to the needs of the people. So I'm looking forward to a very good conversation.
Okay, now, Doctor, following our topic of discussion, could you just give us the implication of the national budget towards the economic growth of Uganda and also the financial market performance in general?
Yeah, thank you. The national budget is there, and really the framing of the topic was very handy. Most people would simply go into the budget, look at where the sector is going, where which money took what, and that's really the other part of the budget. But the main core of the budget is what is its role in economic development. When you give money to infrastructure, what do you mean? When you give money to security, what do you mean? And for me, that's really the role of the budget. So there are quite a number of things. One of them is to cause economic growth. Okay. That the economy must grow, like every other person does. And how now does the economy grow? You need roads for the economy to grow. So you give some money there. You need security for the economy to grow, because people must be able to do what they want to do peacefully. You want to put your store there, like lock your shop and go home. And in the morning you find it's okay, nobody has robbed you. But also as you're going home, nobody has robbed you. Security is also very fundamental for the economy to grow, and it gets some money. You want certain sectors finance themselves by and large, I would say. So the only role of the government budget there is to ensure proper regulation. Like if you look at the banking sector, most banks would use their own money and then money that depositors take there. So there is no government budget necessarily going to banks to do their business, unless they are government banks like Uganda Development Bank. Okay. But the role of the government budget there is to make sure the regulator is well financed. Capital Markets Authority is a regulator. And then you have Uganda entities like the Uganda Communications Commission is a regulator. Me and you will be talking on phone, but somebody is making sure we don't get cheated. If they say a minute is 180 minutes, it's 180 minutes. Okay. Your mobile money is safe. So those are roles of the regulators, and they also need to be financed. Courts of law Every other time we are quarreling. The police, so the government budget is looking into all those spaces to say the economy grows. Two, the economy creates opportunities for me and you to work. This is a private TV here.
Okay.
An opportunity has been created that there is a building, you have signed an agreement, you may not own the building. I sometimes hear people, I must own a house. I'm like, no, you should own a business. Now the business can rent you a house. All you need is pay rent. Once you pay rent, you're like the owner of that house. And I've known people who have lived in houses for 10 years which they don't own. But they make sure they own a business that generates money for them. So the government budget is supposed to make sure there are opportunities for people to do what they want to do, can make their businesses, and also to bridge inequalities. You know, places like Karamoja, if you look at child poverty in Karamoja is 77%. Child poverty in Kampala is 1.6%. Now, that means you need to put more resources to look after the children and the people in Karamoja to bring up some equality of those nature and remove those inequalities. So in summary, the government budget is speaking to what me and you see on a daily basis, okay, to make sure it enables us to do our thing. You can take your child to school, come back to pick the child in the evening, or even take your child in January and come back to pick the child in May. And that child is there. And whatever you paid school fees for, the school is delivering. So those are some of the government roles that are overarching, but making sure me and you live our lives peacefully. Okay,
Doctor, of course, we're not seeing the national budget for the first time in Uganda. It has been there over the year. The government has sat down with policymakers, make decisions for the country, had targets, and over the years we've seen some of them become a success and others fail. What are some of the key challenges that we have as a nation towards implementation of the national budget?
Quite a mouthful, and many times you look at a record of government challenges in 2010, you see the record of government challenges in 2025. And you wonder whether that's a challenge. If it has persisted for 15 years, shouldn't we call it a failure, something we have failed to do? When we were growing up, people used to repeat classes. Yeah. You repeat a class one time, second time, third time, till they just say, you go home. You will never pass this class. You never pass P7. Forget about secondary. So there are certain challenges, and many of them would be the insufficient budget itself, because we have put too much on our budget than it can afford to maintain. So we have to keep borrowing to fill up the gaps, and struggling to get some money out of individuals. You still have things like corruption, people would steal them. I know these are challenges of budget implementation. We have institutional weaknesses. You say we are going to do this road. You've seen the roads in Kampala. We began about these roads about 2 years ago, some of them more than 2 years. They are still not complete. So what are the issues there? Some of them could be you didn't get access on right of way. Okay. You started the road, but you did not have a right to build that road in that particular segment, and the person you're discussing with is not ready to do that. You have electricity outages. What could be the problem? It might be we do not have sufficient funds. So there are quite a number of challenges. There are institutional weaknesses. Sometimes it is a failure of institutions to coordinate. That one institution is sitting on information that the other one needs. Sometimes you don't have focused people. People who don't know what is the deliverable. I mean, a doctor will walk into theater to operate a person knowing this person, I must finish this operation, and the person goes out of here. They are focused. But you may find some people in government who will work, and you ask them exactly what have you done this year. Maybe they have no deliverable, possibly it's not even clearer to them. Okay. So you have all those kinds of challenges. Some of them are laws, you can't move, they require to be reformed. So quite a number of challenges, but hinged around institutional weaknesses, which are basically either you do not have the right laws, or you do not have the right teams in place, or the teams don't know what exactly they're supposed to be doing. You may not have a sufficient budget. You want to do it, but you can't do it. But also we have some challenges that are external. Like now, as you said earlier, one of the expectations of driving the growth is going to be agriculture. Yeah. But now we have the price of coffee going down by half. When we were making the budget, we did not know that would happen. So we expected the coffee to drive the growth. Now, coffee production in quantity will continue. But now in value, it is going to be half of what was supposed to be. So you expect to see some challenges there. Drought may come, roads may break down because of all sorts of things. So those external things, we now have Trump. Is out there disrupting the global systems, putting tariffs or here, taxes there, and then you have wars in our region as well. People should not forget that ours is a Great Lakes region, and what makes it a Great Lakes is volatile, undergrowth. We are sitting on volcanoes. They keep active, but similarly the people themselves act like volcanoes. While you are there, Congo has a problem. While you are there, Somalia has a problem. South Sudan has a problem. Now, yesterday we woke up to news that Sudan has split itself. The other warlord has created a formal government. So are we going to see 3 governments now, 3 nations in Sudan? What does that mean to us? Sudan is one of our buyers of coffee. So you have all those kinds of things, but that's what human beings are meant for. You are not meant to sit down like a tree and grow. Even trees shed leaves when there is not enough water. So those are some of the challenges that we have. How do we adapt to them is a challenge.
On that very note, how can the economy of Uganda protect itself to thrive through external economic shocks like those that are unsudden?
There are quite a number of things that you can do. To a certain extent, you can protect yourself. But being part of a global network, you still will face hardships that come from external challenges and disruptions. COVID came the other day. No, we didn't invite it. It really disrupted us. A storm may come and disrupt you. As I've said, the coffee prices now, we are relying on them. Anything happens to them. I know Ugandans who have been going to work in the US. Thank God, the majority of Ugandans now are in the Middle East, and there is no trouble there that would scare them to come back. And they're bringing us some good amount of remittances, 1.4 trillion now in excess of dollars per year. So one of the ways you cushion yourself as an economy is what we call diversification. Okay. Spread out. If coffee is hit, do I have fish? Do I have gold? Do I have oil? Don't put all your eggs in one basket. Diversify, that's one. 2, you should also have what we call buffers. Like, we have to import things, drugs, fuel, lots of things. So usually we have reserves that we say, can we keep some dollars in the central bank? That even if no other dollar came from abroad, the dollars we have in the reserves, like your granary, can at least sustain me to import the basic things I need for 4 months. By then you think the problem, you will have solved it. Now, what we have there is less than 4 months, but that is one way we cushion ourselves. But also a country like Uganda, you want to make sure you have food, because food is a basic necessity for everybody. And quite often in Uganda, at least we are lucky that we always have some food somewhere. You don't see thirst. But now we are beginning to get exposed to imported food, wheat, rice, tomatoes are coming from Kenya. Those are exposures to ourselves to certain risks we did not have 5 to 10 years ago. And we need to be watching those spaces. If tomatoes didn't come from Kenya for a week, what happens here? You may still get tomatoes, but the price can triple. I know the Japanese government is struggling because rice has increased 100%, and rice is their staple food. So those are kinds of things you need to keep watching and say, the basic things, I should at least have them. Oil prices can shoot up and cause us another problem. So there you survive on the global discussions of making sure the oil prices are kept down.
Okay. Now, currently we are seeing the Ugandan shillings appreciating against the dollar. Now, I'm talking on behalf of the business people who are watching us who do not understand what that
means, yeah.
Yeah, so when it appreciates against the dollar, right now, I think it's at 3,605.
It's actually 3,000, I think 500. It is below 3,600.
Oh.
It's been trending downwards.
It has, but previously it was appreciating.
Yes.
So could you just explain to us, when it appreciates, what does that mean for an exporter? Does that exporter benefit? And when it goes down, what is the whole difference?
Yeah, actually for the technicalities, when it goes down, it is actually appreciating. It's gaining a lot of value.
Okay.
When it goes up, it is depreciating, it is losing value.
Okay.
Now, the traders you have talked about, or the business community you've talked about out there, would be on different sides of the coin if you are an importer or if you are an exporter. Okay. An importer is very happy to have a strong shilling, a shilling where you say $1 is 3,500, because now that importer needs fewer shillings to get so many dollars and go and import. So for them, a strong shilling serves them well.
The importer? The
importer. Okay. Because my 1 million, I'm able to get so many dollars, I will import so many things and sell and make my money. The exporter, remember, goes out there and picks dollars and now brings their dollars here to change them so that they can go and do their things in shillings. Now that means if I bring $10, I'm going to get fewer shillings. Okay. So the exporter is at a loss. when the shilling is very strong. Now you have to decide, do you want to support the importer? Certainly not. You want to support the exporter because that's the one who's going to grow your economy. And that's the diversity of thoughts and ideas. When I hear people out there saying the Uganda shilling is very strong, that's a good thing. That's not a good thing, because you're only encouraging people to go to Tanzania and grow the Tanzanian economy by creating demand there and bringing things here. They go to Kenya and bring things here, because now why should I bother producing tomatoes? If the shilling is very strong, I will go and import them from Kenya and Tanzania. But if the shilling is that bad, I'm going to make sure I produce the tomatoes here. Then I'll create jobs here. I'll create value addition here. I'll even be able to export some tomatoes. So a strong shilling is not good for an economy. Okay. We know China very well. They are what they are because they have made sure their currency does not peak strength against major global currencies like the dollar, the euro, the pound. They make sure they manage it to make it as weak as possible. Now, what is making the Uganda shilling very strong? It would be okay if it was an internal process. But when you look at what is our biggest source of dollars, it's gold. Now, a bit of this gold is Ugandan, but a bit of this gold is coming in from the region. We only refine it here. Now, that means part of that gold is going back to the region, the money. Because if I bring in raw gold, I pay that guy who came with the raw gold. Wherever they came from, he goes with that money. Now, the beauty with Uganda is these guys don't take the money back. They actually buy Ugandan manufactured products and take them back to Congo, take them to South Sudan, take them to where they are going. So there are some kind of benefits in that, but still we are going back to being exposed to one item being the main source of dollars. That 40 to 50%, almost 50% of our source of revenue, foreign exchange, is gold. The other one was coffee, and now coffee has been hit. So you want to do what we did in the 90s. Can we diversify and bring on board what we call non-traditional exports? Can we produce beans, milk, fish, flowers, so that we increase, as we said, diversify to avoid shocks and risks. But to do that, you need a weak shilling. Now, unfortunately, people are happy with a strong shilling. I don't understand that kind of logic.
Now, you talked about diversification just in a few before we go for our commercial break.
Yes.
What are the risks of diversifying as an economy?
One is you may want to diversify into areas where you don't have the capacity. You need to work it out well. I know President Museveni likes what he calls value addition. But remember, value addition comes with a new set of skills. The person who produces maize, the person who grinds the maize, may not be necessarily having the skill to take the maize to the next level. So you can push yourself into a space of the unknown in terms of skills that you need, but also you expose yourself to other costs, things we call like packaging. Once you remove the skin off the maize, the coating of the maize, you have made that maize vulnerable. You can no longer just put it in a corner and stays there for months. It's going to wither. So you need to package it very well. Same thing with coffee, same thing with beans, same thing with oranges, same thing with milk. The moment you process, you get into that extra cost. And Uganda is not making a lot of these packaging materials. They are coming in from Kenya. The coffee gunny bags, which we used to export our coffee, some of them are coming from as far as Pakistan. So you may get into that space that, one, the skills are not there. To the required raw material to get into that space may become costly for you to import. You may not even have the market. I keep telling people, a farmer of poultry is better off simply selling an egg. I know 2 eggs may be 1,000 shillings, and an omelette at Serena may be 20,000. But this farmer cannot begin to say, hey, Serena is adding value to eggs and getting 20,000. Let me also make an omelette at the farm in Kayunga. You will not sell it to anybody. There are certain things where you say, okay, this is my space. I pass my children very well, but this is P7. I am not going to say, I'm going to add value and begin to do secondary education. You are a primary teacher, stop where you are. You are a secondary teacher, stop where you are. Leave medical training to the professors. They are going to be paid 15 million. But that is their space. So we need to work out well. We see where the president wants to go. But I think the logic is to say, how do we logically move there without hurting ourselves and even failing to realize what we thought will be the benefit of the day?
Like depleting the resources that we have. Yes,
because we have very little resources. I was liking the president's write-up in the National Development Plan 4. He said, one by one, you make a bundle. So you literally, when you have scarcity, don't run for too many things. Collect that one stick, collect another one stick, collect another one stick. You might even go home with 3. Okay. Tomorrow pick another 3. On the third day you have make a bundle, because a bundle is 10 when we are growing up. Once you make it 10, you tie it. But move slowly. Don't see another person with 3 bundles and rush. You will break your horse. You may not even get to where you want to go. So let's be logical. Look at what resources do we have. Can we afford to do roads, standard gauge railway, electricity, buildings, and then pay public service, a parliament of 600? I mean, aren't we running after too many things and coming back to undermine the role of the budget in economic growth? That is possible.
That is well said by Dr. Muhumza Fred, a lecturer at Makerere University, but also an economist, as we expound deeper on the role of the national budget in economic growth in Uganda and also on the financial market performance as a whole. Of course, we're going for a commercial break with me, Jackie Lingla, your host. Don't go away. Stay tuned on Race TV. Have a very good evening.
The Financial Eye, making finance clear.
Welcome back from the commercial break. It's me, Jackie Lingla, on your favorite Financial Eye show, where we shine a spotlight on key economic aspects in Uganda that drive Uganda's economy ahead. Now, we're expounding more on the role of the national budget on Uganda's economy and also the financial market performance as a whole. Recently, we saw the current national budget pointing out key priority areas such as agriculture, tourism, mining as one of them. And now next year, that is 2026, there is a projection that there will be mining oil by then. So, Doctor, I want you to give us your views about that projection, that next year, 2026, we'll be mining, we'll be having oil production in Uganda. What are the potential risks, and what are we going to gain from that whole process?
Of course, oil comes with expectations, oil comes with good monies, but in the case of Uganda, we don't know how much belongs to us, because we've had a lot of what we call sharing agreements, because we didn't have money to do the upfront investments, exploration, and now the oil development processes. So our partners have been investing in money on the agreement that when finally the oil flows, they will recover. So one, we don't know how much money they have put in. It may be a secret known to those who are managing the processes. You want to believe they have been compiling and computing. But that's now a fixed cost out there. The other part now, you don't know what will be my revenues, because even if the oil begins to flow in 2027, and I'm saying even if with a reason, you don't know what the oil price will be then, because that's what will determine the revenue that you get, the earnings out of the oil. So there are a lot of uncertainties that are not known there, but oil being oil, you still pick some benefits out of it.
Okay.
The question is, when does this come? Uganda really is on record. We discovered the commercial oil quantities 2006. Next year we make it 20 years. We haven't picked a jerrycan or a drum out of it. We have been working on a lot of things, been busy, as somebody would say, busybodies. When people move around football pitch for 90 minutes and they don't score a goal, it's busybodies. You came to
Moving
score,
people
you
from areas and
you just moving
relocating
around
them.
and you moved the people. There was a purpose. Some have moved on. Compensation laws have been put in place. Institutions are in place. Ultimately, you want the oil out. So when is that going to come? We've kept shifting the goalposts. 2012 was the early production, 2015, 17, 2020, 22, 25, now 27. You still keep moving and moving, and you want to say, are we closing it? Is it about to be resolved?
Okay.
Now, for such kinds of things, you want to look back and say, okay, what will it take for it to come out? Okay. If you're building a house, don't invite people for housewarming when you've just bought a plot. You need to get an architect to design, bring materials, begin building. You have to raise the roof, you have to roof it, close up, do a lots of things, which take time. Building a house is not like a bird which does a nest in the morning and by evening there is an egg. So similarly, the oil production has a lot of heavy investments that need to be made. The other day I was going to Rakai and I saw the pipes that are coming through from Tanzanian side. And then I again meet them on the Kiboga Road going to Ulisa. But I'm like, wait a minute, so these pipes come from Tanzania to Kampala and then to Hoima. But the pipeline is from Hoima to the other route, where Rakai. So there should have been already a road. If we were to say we have done oil roads, we should have done a straight road, or at least a road that is very close to where the pipeline is, so that already these trucks would be going from Rakai into Sembabule, into Mubende, Mitiana, and into Kikobe, where the oil is, and Bulisa, which would be a shorter distance. So it means we still have a long way to go if we are to use the same pipe segments or similar to lay the pipeline from Bulisa all the way into Tanzania. Now, that is a heavy investment that we haven't made. We are now working on a refinery, but the refinery can use the oil right in Bulisa, but the tanks are supposed to be in Buloba. So you still need a crude oil, a refined oil pipeline from Bulisa to come to Buloba, unless if you are going to put it on trucks. So that instead of finding trucks from Mombasa to Uganda, we now find trucks from Bulisa coming through Kiboga to Kampala, because 70% of Uganda's oil is consumed within the greater Kampala and the metropolitan area. So you have to get the oil here. So there are quite a lot of dots that are not yet connected
Okay.
for us to come through. So I don't see that happening in 2027. I wouldn't want anybody to put out their legs and eggs and say, yes, we are about to draw the champagne. That is out there. But because of the expectation on oil, we have incurred heavy debt, which we began contracting way back 15 years ago or so. Uganda is going to have oil we can front load. We can begin to borrow and do things in infrastructure, schools, what, agriculture. After all, the oil is coming in 5 years, we'll pay back the debt and move on. Now, 20 years down the road, the oil is not there, the debt is there and growing. Now, that becomes another nightmare on our topic for today, the role of the national budget in the economy. Because now you have a budget that you actually don't have. You have 72 trillion, but of the 72 trillion, close to 40 of that, or 37 of that, is debt management. Interest to pay the debt, so that's not money to pay salaries, to do roads, to buy drugs. It is literally to pay back your creditors. You have money you are rolling over. We call it debt restructuring. I'm supposed to pay Jackie her money today, but I come and sit on the table with you and say, please, wait, can I pay you tomorrow? So let's assume I have paid you and you have given it back to me. We have not even postponed, so this is a new debt. So Jackie has now a privilege to say, oh, okay, the old debt was at 15%. Now, this new debt is going to be at 19. So you get
More
deeper.
expensive.
Yeah, you get deeper and deeper, that at the end of the day, you get into what we call a debt trap. Like a car falls in a ditch, you can only be pulled out either by another car or people pushing you. But the car no longer has capacity to get itself out of that situation. This was why in the 80s, when the government adopted the recommended structure adjustment program, but also got debt forgiveness towards the end of the 90s. People saw and said, really, what do you want from that human being? Why don't you just let them go and survive? They gave us that bit. Now we seem to have gotten back into that situation, which is undermining the role of the budget in delivering what people would need. So you are likely to see continuing shortages of drugs, continuing failure to finish the roads we start in time. We might even have delays in payment of salaries of some individuals. Right now, we would be happy to really increase the salary of teachers of arts. We hear them. It's not that when you're a teacher of arts, you have a different kidney and different blood. You also have basic same needs like everybody. But we're saying it's not just the teachers of arts. The teachers of arts have come into the limelight because their peers, teachers in sciences, were raised. But the same story works for all the other employees within the system. The police, the military, the cleaners of Kampala streets. You see sometimes we delay to pay them and they have to come and demonstrate. And it's not much money. I even wonder, 180,000? Can it do anything for somebody in Kampala who has to rent a house at a minimum of 120? So you're left with 60 to do what? So you have a lot of those challenges that the government budget gets trapped and entangled like a fly in a spider's web. You want to free yourself, but you are unable because it's a trap that you have gotten into.
And will remain with that dream on paper.
Yes, so debt, partly linked to that origin of oil is coming, linked to corruption, linked to certain things that don't add up. You know, in economics, you want to make an assumption, but the assumption must be very clear. If I'm coming to Jackie's place, I must be clear you are going to feed me. Short of that, I will come with some takeaway food. The English have a lot of that. They make a party, but you people come with your food. They're not going to spend on you. After all, you are the one going to eat it. In Africa, we invite people and feed them. So you want to have assumptions and say, I'm going to do a road, and Mr. Museveni is really getting into this these days. He's saying a road is good, but are people creating wealth? Which is a statement I've been saying that in economics, a road is necessary but not sufficient. So while you invest in roads, electricity, and I don't know what, ICT, or these kinds of, don't forget to invest in the real things that help people make money and use that road gainfully. So I think our budget is in that kind of catch-22 position.
Doctor, what should the government do in addressing the raising debt issue that has been continuous over the years, and also ensure that we have sustainability?
Of course, debt cannot be solved by more borrowing. And I think that's what government seems to be doing as of now. You have debt, you keep borrowing to pay old debt, you borrow to pay interest, you borrow to do new services, because the revenue that URA is expected to collect like 37 trillion. When you have obligations of 72 trillion, you're still going to be borrowing the other part. And we've been surviving mainly on foreign loans and grants, which were concessional. Concessional meaning you are borrowing at very good terms, like borrowing from your own cousin. They will give you at a very good rate. They might even say, you take it, just bring back the money, which we call a grant. Grants don't even go back. Somebody has given you money. Now, the sources of those funds have become narrower and narrower. That now we are going into commercial borrowing, both abroad and domestic. A 2-year bond in Uganda is 15–16%, meaning that's a lot of money. You have to give it back in 2 years plus the interest. Now, 2 years, what have you done with that money? Literally, possibly, you paid salaries and bought some food, fuel for government, and a few other things to run around. Then how are you going to pay back that debt, which was for consumption? Then you have to borrow again. So the first thing you want to say, what is making me borrow? Can I stop it? Can I break it? And that's what we call restructuring of government. We tried to do that under what they call RAPEX, rationalization of agencies and public expenditure. You want to merge government agencies so that they are fewer. But now the merger went bad. It stopped somewhere, but also it didn't stop the cost. In the 90s, government literally wound up certain agencies. Are we ready to have a conversation that now you can see everybody's campaigning to go to parliament because it makes them money, or so they think? Are we ready to say we are going back to a parliament of 150? Are we ready to say we are going to have a government not of I don't know how many ministries, but fewer? Because that is one way of dealing with debt. You remove the purpose of spending. Once that purpose is gone, then you don't have to look for that money. So first thing is you have reduced the need for borrowing. And then over time, you're hoping you'll begin to raise savings and knock out the existing debt. That is a political and technical decision. I don't see us headed there, but sometimes we say, if you tell a person you're sick and they don't want to go to hospital, wait, they are going to collapse and faint. Once you faint, it's the worst situation, but by the time you wake up, you are in theater or possibly out of theater or have sorted you out. Now, you don't want a government or an economy to reach that crisis level for us to wake up and do what we should have done yesterday.
Okay. Now, you mentioned about the domestic revenue target, which is the 37.2 trillion Ugandan shillings. What are some of the key avenues the government should do in order to widen the tax base and ensure that Ugandans do not feel the pressure that the government is trying to raise this money?
I think that last part is the most important. We have spent decades trying to widen the tax base and maybe deepen the tax base, trying to bring new people on board. That's widening. But the word is, how do you sustain the tax base? That even the current people who are paying tax will be there to pay tax in 2027, 2028. We've seen a lot of businesses close and collapse. Okay. If you have come in, if you have left us, so you want to start from there and say, how do I first sustain? And I was very pleased with, I think it is number 8 or number 7, when Mr. Museveni was giving the State of the Nation address. He told the government entities responsible, raise tax revenue without killing the businesses. Don't eat the chicken if your business is selling eggs. First, make sure this chicken is well fed, is sustained, and then you can begin to move on. So we need to get those ways of how do we tax minus killing the business. And I like the URA administration today. They have gone into a lot of conversations. You heard about EFRIS, where people are literally killing entities. You made a mistake, 6 million, but my business is 2 million. I'm going to close it. So the president had to intervene. URA kicked into action and said, okay, we have cancelled. We say suspension of EFRIS. We have cancelled all the penalties. Now businesses are surviving. You want to see that. There is also a mentality that the informal sector is responsible for lack of payment of taxes. That's not true. Every time you buy data, including for the baby to keep the baby busy, 30% of that cost is literally tax. The other day I walked into a supermarket and bought chapati. A chapati is 2,000, that supermarket. You know the invoice they gave me had a tax component. Chapati in a supermarket. Now you are telling me I should be buying by the roadside, which is the informal, because they will not pay tax.
Even the supermarket person is taxed generally.
So you've paid tax on the wheat as it was being imported. The supermarket is paying tax. The chapati is paying. I mean, and all this tax comes to me, the consumer. A bit of it is absorbed by the taxpayer. So even as we broaden the tax to get to 37 trillion, we need to know that Our problem might be we have overstretched. Kamugwe Muganda, as President had said, one by one makes a bundle. We seem to have run after too many things, that now we need too much money from this economy, and this economy can't raise the money that we need. So we've got to go back and rethink and say, how do we move step by step, both on the revenue side but also on the expenditure side, and grow this economy to strengthen that tax base. If these women in Kampala were not earning 180,000, which by default they don't pay income tax. So how do you do that? You need more people earning $1 million. Then automatically the income tax will come in. The other day we had USAID close here. We are losing, I think, close to 20 to 30 billion per month because of the former employees of USAID who are no longer in the job. So how do you create jobs to sustain your tax? So tax revenue is really intertwined with the economy. And so we must focus on growing the economy, and then the taxes will follow. Otherwise, if you simply say, I need my tax, you're going to eat the chicken, and then there are no eggs tomorrow, and yet your business was in the eggs, not in the chicken.
Okay. Now, allocation on the key sectors such as agriculture, we have infrastructure, we have mining. How are these allocations going to lead to economic transformation, literally? Because we as Ugandans, we're seeing the money is being put there. And we have seen over the years, it has always been put there. And sometimes we remain at the same level. But this financial year, this current financial year, how is this allocation in this current budget going to lead to economic transformation?
I think it's related to where we began. What are the challenges of implementation? Some of them, the allocations, even when they go there, they're insufficient. You're going to find doctors have been paid their salary. That was an allocation to the health sector. Electricity has been paid, sometimes not paid. So you don't just switch off a hospital. You just say, okay, you continue. Water has been paid. But where is what this doctor needs to secure this patient? The gloves, the blood. Do we have the blood around, and is it moving the ambulances? A lot of other things. So even the sectors in Uganda that have really been duly funded are still underfunded. Meaning they will not deliver on their mandate to the level that they would have required it to do. We also, the case on Usabara Road, we lost one of our loved business persons there. But the work had delayed on, and then we realized the contractor had literally abandoned the site. Not abandoned in the sense of the word abandoning, but could not continue on the site because he was not having any money. So you can't keep employees on the road when money is not coming. So you begin to see that even the sectors that have been given huge budgets, it's insufficient. It takes us back to say, Kamu is the one by one, you make a bundle. What the president said, can we move slowly by slowly? Eventually we'll make that bundle. So if we need to reduce even on the sectors we're allocating budgets to, so that we can find some more money to allocate sufficient funds to the sectors that you need. The other day we were having a debate and we gave tractors to Northern Uganda and different people in the country. But the Northern Uganda people said, you gave me a tractor without harrows. So is that a tractor? Because the tractor works with harrows. Don't bring me a saucepan and there's no food to cook and say there is a kitchen there. We need food. So a tractor without harrows, can we give 20 tractors with the harrows and a trailer? Rather than giving 80 tractors and no harrows or no tires. So we need to look that the allocations should be sufficient to deliver the minimum that we can deliver, rather than just giving everybody some small something and then they deliver nothing.
Okay.
We'll be fooling ourselves, and I think we need to get out of that and realize that the national budget should speak to the needs of the economy, and so can we go back and rethink how do we restructure these processes. Security is very expensive in Uganda. We are safe in these borders not because of a lot of what we do inside our borders, but partly because of what we are doing outside our borders. The other day, ADF killed 60 people in the Congo. They will be killing them here. Al-Shabaab has ever hit us, now 15 years. They haven't come back. But you think they don't know where Uganda is? No. We are keeping them at bay out there. Okay. You have a lot of volatile, but these things come at a huge cost. But also there is now growing social discontent within the country. Young people will be agitating, and not just young people, unemployed people will be fighting and not happy with themselves. So you now need to intensify internal policing. The president the other day is saying, do we have police every Gomboloda? People's coffee is being stolen, cows are being stolen, goats, border. I mean, you have a situation which you can only resolve by investing in growing the economy, increasing opportunities, and making sure naturally people are happy and well catered for. Short of that, we are going to keep pushing against the wall, which wall will eventually.
Okay. Now, recently, the central bank made sure that it maintains its interest rate at 7.5%.
Yeah, almost
roughly.
9 point something. Yeah.
7.9%. Now, what does this? How does this affect a borrower? Does it hurt the borrower? Does the borrower gain from it when it maintains that? What is the implication?
The high interest rate for anybody who has done basic economics in senior 5 means less investment.
Okay.
So if the interest rate is high, businesses are going to find it very, very expensive to do what they do best: invest, create jobs, create services. So they are going to do it at a smaller scale. And that will not create jobs. That will deter all of us from making progress. So we need to be looking at interest rates being low. Now, the word low is relative. Ugandans are saying the interest rates are low at 19 because when the central bank puts it at 9.5, the central bank rate, it's really a reference rate. It's not what you borrow money on, because even the central bank, when you find the rediscount, if any bank wants to go to the central bank and borrow, they don't borrow at that central bank rate. They borrow at another rate, which is 12, 13. But most banks are borrowing from each other. And this is a very high rate of about 12% for possibly 1 year. Sometimes it is a week. It's 11, 10%. Those are very high rates that are passed on to the borrowers. And that can constrain growth. But let's go back to the prime rate, 18, 19%. People will say, oh, it's a good rate. One, prime is not everybody. MTN, when it goes to borrow, Shell and Total, when they go to borrow, they may be prime. Mahomes and Jackie here are not prime. We are going to be borrowing at 35. That one, nobody reports it. They report the prime. Secondly, 19, you are competing with China. Every time I go downtown, I find Chinese products. In China, the rate is 1.4. They cut it from 1.5. Now, 1.5 is already a dream for any Ugandan. So China says 1.5 is too high, I won't compete globally. So they cut it down to 1.4. So if some people are borrowing at 1.4 and they are also active in this market, either producing or trading, you have a problem for Ugandan. So we must see how do we address the driver of interest rates. The main driver of interest rates, as we said earlier, is government borrowing. So we are not going to lower interest rates when government is still borrowing at the rate at which it needs money. So how do you stop government borrowing? It must go back and cut its size of the cloth to whatever is available. Don't make a gomesi when the cloth is not enough. You might make a blouse tight, but at least you are dressed. So we have to get back to those realities, fundamentals of economics. There are no two ways about it. Okay. If you don't lower your rates, you're not going to grow. And lower your rates, first of all, stop government borrowing. The connections are clear. And nobody should say, we are going to lower the rates, we are going to invest. Now, the worst part of it has even fixed on this one, is we are hungry for long-term finance. Now, long-term finance globally comes from pension sector and insurance. Now, our NSSF is our source of long-term finance. But the bulk of NSSF money, 75%, is in government bonds, including bonds of 2 years. Now, you have converted your long-term financing into short-term financing. Then you have completely distorted the performance of the financial sector in supporting economic growth. And to resolve this is not going to be a statement that is going to be more money or put some $1 trillion in UDB. No, you need to free the markets, financial markets, to do what they do best. Let NSSF work with the long-term housing finance loans, put money into maybe Uganda Development Bank for long-term financing directly. Government doesn't have to come and borrow from NSSF and then take it to UDB. Okay. You can allow UDB and NSSF to hatch a plan. They are all government entities, literally. Then they can hatch their plan and lower the long-term cost to at least get as close to the Chinese who are at 1.4. Some of them are even free money. It's a sad story, but that's the reality. And we live in the same global space. So,
Doctor, in your closing remarks, what would be your best words for Ugandans who are watching us tonight?
It's going to be a hassle as we are going out there. The knowledge is available. If you do not have it, please ask a friend. We are here, Rest TV. Yeah. Don't rest in peace. No. But rest with rest so that knowledge. You can know you are resting on knowledge. We can give people the knowledge. We told people when COVID came, we didn't have answers. But the medical professionals gave us the knowledge we needed to survive. So please, in such turbulent times of our economy, global, local, regional, seek the knowledge so that you know how to structure your business. Don't do anything with too many assumptions. I'm going to put a salon here, people will come. Which people are you targeting? Do you know them? Are they there? Will they pay 2,000? Will they pay 20,000? Don't make assumptions. Don't sleep in a house of 2 million when that is all your salary that you have. Don't buy a car when taxis and border borders are still available, including walking. Live within your means and live to see that time which is coming beyond COVID. So for me, don't put your child in a school that you cannot afford and then you begin running around. Don't produce 5 children when even one is going to be a pain to you to look after. At least produce one to have somebody to, live a realistic life. Don't be too optimistic. Don't be a pessimist, but be a realist. Walk your journey. Let no one dictate upon you on what you must do. Let your conditions dictate on what you should do, and do it, but with a focus that the future should be bright, and work towards that brighter future. It's possible. It's possible.
That is well said from Dr. Muhomza Fred, a lecturer in Makerere University, but also an economist. Live within your means, but always have a vision for your future. That is well said. Jackie Lingla, till next time, every Monday at 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. here on The Financial Eye, where we shine a spotlight on key economic aspects that are building Uganda at large. Stay tuned on Race TV. Have a very good evening.
The Financial Eye, making finance clear.